talked about eminent domain,
Right.
and we mentioned specifically what we anticipated what they would be using in an eminent domain, which is fraudulent and anti-constitutional, really. And we predicted it, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're using eminent domain inappropriately. Yep. And my point is, if you're dealing with a government who has never honored treaties with Native American people, do you really expect them to honor the Constitution when it comes to white farmers and suburbanites getting booted out of their homes for a foreign company to come in? Well, good morning. Welcome back to Talking Racine. The three of us this morning are Mr. George Myers.
Morning.
Mr. Jim Spodek.
Morning.
And Dr. Ken Jorgen, your host. Glad to have you here. First thing we're going to talk about this morning is something that's going to come up on the City Council agenda probably tomorrow evening, and that will be the proposal to grant $390,000 to the Wild Root Food Co-op. That's been proposed for over on Walton Avenue.
Which I would point out, I don't have a great bit of objection to it. I just don't like the people that are involved that are getting it done.
Well, you like organic food, don't you?
Yeah. In fact,
you've been eating organic food for
a long time. Matter of fact, I have gotten I'm taking my Whole Foods receipts and I'm writing down the things that I get at Whole Foods that I really like, because I'm getting ready to figure out how I'm going to, I want to get it down here in Racine and save my trip up there.
This guy is a little bit obsessive.
Yeah,
I know he is.
No, I'm already making plans for Wild Root. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that I necessarily approve of the way that this money's getting there, or that it even should go to that. Because I don't want to take money from the rest of the taxpayers to feed my little belly. I figure that it's not okay for me to have other people pay for my life.
It's just a little belly, George.
Yeah,
not
well.
that big. And you're an organic guy. I mean, you raise a garden that's is it organic, or do you have a Roundup out there? Have you got Roundup ready tomatoes?
No pesticides, no nothing.
There you go. You're organic farmer.
And I actually
can.
I'm
the consumer. You're the producer.
Right. No, I got it. Well, you guys had my pickles and
I like them bread and butter pickles
you
make, man. They're exemplary.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but that's.
I don't have a garden anymore, but I've gardened in the past. I mean, I grew up with a garden when I was a kid, and when I lived in Arkansas, we raised a lot of food. And I'll tell you what, and you've heard this story. You think that you got all of this food raised, and oh boy, you're going to put up preservatives and so on and so forth. Down in Arkansas, we ran into a little problem. There were no canning lids in the whole county.
I remember that time period.
I don't know.
I've canned for a lot of years. Probably 30 years I've been canning.
Yeah.
And
how the heck do you have a canning lid short?
I remember that period.
Yeah, that was like in 1974
I think you get the price up just like they had when they had sugar and all the other things.
So
the price goes up.
But I mean, that's devastating if you got all this food and you can't preserve it.
Yeah.
But anyway, we have this
back
husband wife
to
team
Wildwood,
pushing it through,
Yeah, right.
It's time to bring some legitimacy to the city, despite,
Well, if there's going to be a decision,
the means do not justify the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the way doesn't, whatever.
It's not.
The ends, that's the word I want. The ends don't justify
kosher.
the means, right?
$390,000. That's a fair sum of money.
So, like I said,
community.
the grantee and the grantor are okay, on settling up, getting the money. But now you've got the council who's going to vote on this, and who is a member of Wild Root. I mean, it is
any member of Wild Root should not be voting.
Not at all.
They should not be participating in the discussion as a council member. If they want to participate in the discussion, they should go out on the floor and participate as a member, as an advocate.
Yeah, but
and they shouldn't vote.
No voting.
They definitely shouldn't vote. They've allowed discussion. People they decided that council members that have a conflict of interest can talk about the issue, whether it's right or wrong. I'm just saying they do that. But certainly voting. If there's someone on that council that is a part of Wild Root, they should not be voting on that. That's for sure.
Right. No, and I mean the whole thing is.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's got that little dark side to it. It's a nice project. I'd like to see it, but
well, and if that's the standard that we're going to have, just give me the checkbook. I'll take care of everything. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we can disperse cash over here.
What do you mean we? Okay, so much for Wild Root.
Okay, we're giving $390 plus $100,000 in a matching grant to Wild Root, but
$500,000.
Yeah.
But what?
Well, now we can move into Foxconn, which really, how much different is Foxconn other than we've upped the ante to 4.6 billion, 4.7.
Add a bunch of zeros on the end of
4.7
it. Yeah.
4.7
It's
billion.
now
yeah.
4.7. It was 3.5 billion, 4.5 billion. Now it's 4.7 billion.
How does that happen?
I don't know. I mean, it's
Well, we got a report here from the city of Milwaukee. This was put out by the Legislative Reference Bureau of the city of Milwaukee. They're actually in the city hall up in Milwaukee. A 55-page report about Foxconn. People in areas other than Racine County are concerned about this project. I mean, this is a huge amount of money that's coming out of the state coffers and going into this one project. And there's people that have legitimate questions. And this, well, I'll read this to you. This detailed look at the Foxconn project by the Common Council is really the first time the public will see what is planned. The Foxconn record in several key areas and how the company has operated during its history. And that's significant because these are our friends and neighbors that are going to be working there if the jobs are created.
great.
Yeah, they're talking about 13,000 jobs still, but well, one statistic that I found interesting, that's in this report, Foxconn right now has 873,000 employees worldwide. They at one time had 1.3 million, but they've embarked on an automation program, and that's approximately a one-third reduction going from 1.3 million to 873,000. Now, I'm all in favor of automation because this kind of work will drive you nuts. I've done it, and I'm sure a lot of viewers have as well. And if you're sitting somewhere for 8, 10, up to 12 hours a day and doing repetitive tasks, it is brutal. It is absolutely
Really?
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you have things like a ban on talking, which is one of the things that goes on.
I
in
read
the,
that. I was amazed. They don't want anybody.
Yeah.
I think I know the theory behind it, and that is they don't want people to be diverted. They want to be very efficient. So they can't talk to anybody. Just. But I'll tell you what.
Foxconn
As
has
a person, it's really, really hard to do that, where you have to shut the world off from you and only look at these things going by, and you can only think about those things, and you can't stretch your mind out a little bit.
Right.
That could make
Particularly
you jump off a building.
if you're doing it 8, 10, 12 hours
Yeah.
a day for 6 or 7 days a week,
I know.
it makes you buggy.
I don't think you're going to have that issue here, because I don't think you're going to reach anywhere near those number of employees that they're talking
No,
about,
probably not.
13,000. I think you're going to hit a few. They're going to run the manufacturing headquarters out of Milwaukee. They'll put in 800 or 900, but I don't think you're going to see that in that factory. And there's so many things. This report is 55 pages, and this report actually, I don't know why the city or the county of Racine could not put out a report like this. We're requiring, or we're using the Milwaukee information on Racine County.
Well, it's Milwaukee research. I mean, the information is neutral, but yeah.
yeah, well, it's
Milwaukee
neutral, but
collected
the fact is, why hasn't the city of, or the county
County
of Racine
Racine,
put
yeah.
out something similar to this? I really went through. I mean, it talks about the principals. It even talks about their families and the extension of their families, and it goes into their work environment in the different plants all over the world.
It gives me a little different perspective on Milwaukee. I just don't picture this coming out of Milwaukee either. This is a pretty good report.
Yeah, it is, and it's detailed.
Yeah,
And it goes in.
somebody's
Now,
dug into something.
You can argue a few points here or there, but the fact is, why can't Racine put this out? Now you're moving into thousands of acres, 1,000 acres, moving people off those properties, and I mean, what do they really understand what's happening here? And when you talk about 1.3 billion down to 800 some million or whatever it was, 1.3 billion.
Yeah, 1.3 billion to
Well, here
873,000.
and I always kind of laugh because I see Mick Burke in the Journal Times is interviewing Terry Gow and on Foxconn. I mean, this is the kind of information you got. It's pumped up. There's no figures. There's no facts. It's fluff. But Wu expects manufacturing to be largely automated and robotic, but will still require a few thousand people. That's in the Journal Times article. Nobody investigates. Nobody looks at it.
Yeah.
Nobody asks a question. Milwaukee is asking some questions because it's obviously affecting the state by giving up this $4.7 million.
Well, and there's this 4.7 billion.
Billion.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, it's
Hard
only
to keep
it's only a factor of 1,000.
$4.7 billion
Yeah.
that we're giving them.
That's more than $200,000 in money to create each job. $200,000 for
Well,
each job created.
I don't know if you guys.
And the break-even calculation, too, I mean, that changes depending on where the employees come from. This is Wisconsin money. If 10% of the people who work there come from Illinois, the break-even date, in other words, once that all of that incentive money,
We did a chart on that, didn't we?
but it goes up to 2044 to 2045.
To go
if
further
10
than what we had even projected. I think we said it was going to be 2030, I think it was.
Well, we were basing it on Wisconsin employees. If 10% of the employees are Illinois, this is what it goes up to.
Well, it was
and
the
we were-
investment in the amount they were making. It was, yeah.
Right, and that was before it went up to 4.7 billion too. We were talking like
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. It was a
So-
little smaller billion number.
hang on to your hats. Water usage, that's another big thing. I wonder if we're actually going to see a reduction in our residential water
Again, why
bills.
can't we
should.
have? I mean, I just don't see where our leadership is. They should be putting out these reports. What about the water? What is actually being used? I mean, you can throw 7 million gallons a day, and what's being returned. If you go into this report, it talks about the environmental impact, and now there is no reporting to the state of Wisconsin. It talks about the only reporting that they will have to do is to the Department of EPA of federal government.
It could be that there aren't enough people at the top that are asking the right questions. If
You
they're
think?
if they're more concerned about how many people are the environmental thing or what are some of the issues that came up in the mayoral candidate where there just wasn't a digging into Foxconn.
No.
It was.
No, they're running out there putting on a
It was
Foxconn
more the
hat.
general thing is
Right.
we want poor people to do better and
Right.
we want.
There wasn't a lot of
take more
discussion in the mayoral race really about Foxconn.
No, not
No.
about Foxconn at all. There were these general issues about separate groups of people. About the women versus the men, or the black versus the white. The old versus the young. All this diversionary discussion, and you don't get into questions like this.
No.
Is how much water are they actually
All I
using?
heard on that Common Council was when Foxconn comes, boy, things are going to be great, George.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no statistics, no analyzing of any facts.
Well, one
It's
thing
just going to really be good.
George brought up in the pre-taping discussion, you guys should be here for some of the stuff we talk about at the table over there, was that when Johnson Diversey ceased production, it was Johnson Diversey, right?
Polymer.
Polymer,
Yeah,
I'm
Polymer.
sorry. When Polymer ceased production, that was 10%.
10% of the water usage,
Yeah.
and our water bills all went up 10%. We were saying at the time, in the private sector, when you lose customers, you lower prices to try and get your consumption back up. And the reverse is when the government, when they lose customers, they increase the prices.
Well, anyway, when it went down, it went down by 6 million gallons per day, right?
Well, if the $60 million a day is what the report says,
No. I'm not talking about the report. When Polymer left, it was 6 million gallons a day less usage, right?
Yes, according to the $60 million a day that they're using now.
No. 60 million is the capacity.
Right.
Yeah, that's not what's being used.
Well, I don't have the exact figure, but
Work with me, George.
All
will you?
right. So 6 million.
So it went down by 6 million gallons a day.
Yeah, about that 10%.
This is going to be 7 million gallons a day.
Yeah.
So the amount of money that we were increased on our water bills should be more than compensated by this.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm wondering if it's going to happen. That's where I'm going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it could be worse than that because that's the capacity. Suppose they're working at 75% capacity and lost 10%.
Yeah.
That means they only lost 4 million gallons a day, something like that, see? And if we're increasing it by 7 million, our water bill should go down. But that's not the way, that didn't work that way in Unified with students, and it probably won't work that way at the water department with water.
Here's the thing. Bottom line, George, nobody's asking questions. We got a Common Council that sits around and just like bumps on there and never asks a question. You got a county board who, again, asks no questions. They don't ask for statistics. we're going to do this in the back room, and you guys just come out and vote on it.
Yeah, everything will be fine.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Trust
you know?
us.
Yeah.
Everything will be
I mean, here's another one. Mount Pleasant asking for $68 million more. We talked about the $760 million that they're, bringing into the interstates and roadways and land purchases. And one of the areas that it's still, and I think what's happening now, back in July, we got episode 31. We talked about Foxconn when it first came out, and they said anybody who doesn't think agree with Foxconn, it's going to be they're
just haters.
And we said, and it's
negative
just lemons. Remember, he said
lemons.
Yeah. And we said we're making lemonade because I don't really think it's the best for this area. Truthfully, I still don't believe that. But now
we talked about eminent domain,
right?
And we mentioned specifically what we anticipated what they would be using in an eminent domain, which is fraudulent and anti-constitutional, really. And we predicted it, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're using eminent domain inappropriately. Yep. And my point is, if you're dealing with a government who has never honored treaties with Native American people, do you really expect them to honor the Constitution when it comes to white farmers and suburbanites getting booted out of their homes for a foreign company to come in, suck up $4.7 million so far of taxpayer money to get up and running? If you do expect them to comply with that kind of standard, I think you're being a little bit
it's not being done. There's samples all over the country where communities and states that have passed these laws and rules that they're not going to violate eminent domain. You're not going to be able to take it for private use. And this little loophole that says if it's a dilapidated apartment or a property, blighted property, then you can do it. And they're taking examples of perfectly decent property and
brand new $500,000 homes because blighted.
There's no definition for it. Like that couple that we had just remodeled their whole house in Mount Pleasant, ready to live there. Now they take it under the blighted statute.
Well, what companies are doing is using municipalities to come in and take the property through. So now, I think that was called fascism at one point when the company comes in now works with the government together.
In America?
I can't believe it. But this is what's happening. And what's happening is you're allowing this to happen. I don't care Foxconn or all the rest, but a company cannot come in, use the municipality, the city government to come in and take your house because I want it, because I want your property.
Right.
But I'm friends with you, and there might be a little money here or there. It is so.
Well, again, if you can put a Dakota Access pipeline through the water for a large number of people on an Indian reservation and just, hammer your way through there by the use of the militarized police force that we now have, do you really expect that you're going to be able to stand up to this?
And here's the thing, Doc, and we talk about this too, is when we talk about these Republicans, they're going to be the conservative group that comes in.
What are they conservative?
$4.7 billion to a Taiwanese company. The Democrats are the ones that are going to protect the environment, protect the worker, they go and run over there and sign those decks. It's so far out of whack. And one of the things, I just pulled this up when they did this Kilo. Sandra O'Donnell, who is basically a conservative justice. Any property may now be taken for the benefit of another private property, but the fallout from this decision will not be random. The beneficiaries likely be those citizens with disappropriate influence and power in the political process, including large corporations and development firms.
Yeah, it's Sandra Day O'Connor. She's a retired Supreme Court of the United States.
But what backs all this up, and the reason it works so well, is because government and people are looking more at these companies as tax sources.
Yeah.
In other words, part of the tax base. Remember when Weiser was Alderman Weiser?
Well, they want us to look at him that way.
That's all he was talking about. We have to increase the tax base. He looked at families and people increasing the tax base. And as long as that's your concept of a company,
it's always about the money, George.
Well, that's right. Then it becomes part of the public domain, and therefore susceptible to eminent domain. But when companies used to be, they were coming in to provide a service. They weren't looked at as something to tax. But government's gotten so big and so hungry for money that we've changed our viewpoints, and
And
the public
corporations
unfortunately gets
have been
behind it.
smart because they come in, they see that, and they come in and say, we're going to take you out to dinner, and we're look at what we can do.
Look, all
for
the
you.
jobs we're going to provide.
All these jobs.
This
is a perfect example. I really think Foxconn.
Well, wait a minute. I'm looking at something here. I owe an apology to the government.
Uh-oh.
Amtrak operates train
Flash.
service between
Breaking
Milwaukee.
news.
Operates train service between Milwaukee and Chicago, and they expect that this is going to be increased and upgraded and so on and so forth. And I was just ranting about how they're mistreating Native Americans, and this is the Hiawatha line. So I apologize to the government for my oversight.
Oh my God. But the other thing is clawback. What if this doesn't work? What if they don't bring in the employees they expect and pay the exact?
What's
wage?
clawback, Jim?
Now, clawback must mean I'm getting this picture where the state has just been taking and they're allowed to claw back and kind of get their money back, type of thing. Is that where that name
That's
comes
what they're
from?
calling it, and it's in this report. And if this doesn't work,
Cute name.
the way it's supposed to.
We're going to claw back.
I've seen so many of these clawback
Provisions,
Conjures up in images of Wolverine, doesn't
Oh
it?
my God. Delta Hawk had a clawback, got nothing back. All these clawbacks, I have not seen one work. And I anticipate that this is, how are you going to claw back monies from somebody in Taiwan with a company with a room full of attorneys? It's never.
Well, the companies
ever
that you
gonna
mentioned, like Delta Hawk, there's nothing to claw back to because they're too poor to get any money back. You can't do it. Well, this Taiwan company has set up a subsidiary country. Mind, you're not working with the main company in Taiwan. You're working with another corporation here, and that's set up just for that. So you're not. Their entire multi-billion-dollar industry is not
almost a
stake
straw
for anything
man.
else.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, straw man.
We're close and closer. Well,
yeah, we're working on straw man again. But again, we take it one step further. Now we're just saying when this was proposed, if you remember right, the minority population in Racine is going to be the benefactors of all this job and training, and we've seen where that's going. And then we get another report that comes out and says, it's probably not going to happen.
We meant well.
Well, you go back to the beginning where the Taiwan, that company had come in, Foxconn had come in, and they were going to do it for 1,000 people or 2,000 jobs, something like that.
Roughly
and
two.
Scott Walker said, "Well, we really need 10,000."
Yeah.
So then
Okay. We can
that immediately changes. Yeah, we'll do 10,000.
Yeah. You got a checkbook? Write another check.
Well, and in that clawback provision also it's they got like 12 months if there's a complaint about you don't have enough employees.
There's so many
12 months to comply. So you got a Taiwanese company that's got 12 months to comply. To give us money back that they have received in cash.
Right.
What's the expression for that? Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is and the deeper it goes now you're seeing people come back and saying, maybe this isn't such a great deal. Maybe this was,
Yeah, and that's to me. I mean, when it first came out, remember there was one businessman on this stage with all the politicians, and we said, wait a second, that's the wrong introduction. That many politicians are involved. There's something going on with this particular project, and now we're seeing as it comes forward. Just when you got this much money that has to go into the project from the public sector, from the taxpayers to make it happen, there's something wrong with the project.
Why Foxconn? Why here?
Well,
Why here? Why in Racine County?
I'm not
We got the water, dude. Come on. We got the water and we got the land.
Because we're not very smart.
Well, you know what? You're speaking exactly that. Because, again, on Clarence Thomas on the Supreme Court, allowing the government to take property solely for public purpose is bad enough, but extending the concept of public purpose to encompass any economical benefit goal guarantees that those losses will fall disproportionately on poorer communities.
Wait a minute. Clarence Thomas said that?
Yes.
He actually said something? I mean, the dude is famous for not talking.
Well, he said something on that one.
Wow.
And basically, he brought it up, and I said this from the beginning.
Good.
I said it from the beginning. It's going to fall.
Well,
they're coming into poor communities. We're poor. We're desperate. Please, oh please, take our water and please give us some jobs.
Well, if this thing works out, beautiful. But I don't think there is enough leverage on the part of the local community. We're the ones that's doing all the trusting.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And
this is a bad.
What is the record
deal.
there? If you're trustworthy, then you have no objection whatsoever to ironclad, sharp-toothed regulations to make sure that you do uphold your promises.
Right.
And I don't think that there's been any provision to make it.
I know right now it's all hyped up. It's
Yeah.
But I really got some issues with this thing.
It's kind of like the preseason in the NFL.
Yeah.
There's 32 cities that think they're going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So
It's got its rough spots. Hopefully it will succeed. Hopefully we're not going to just get taken and end up like
Now,
Susan
George, I know you're not
like
a
Susan
Democrat.
Kelo did, where she lost her house.
Yeah.
Went through that whole thing with the big development and everything, and you look at it today, where's the development? It's gone. Where's her house? It's gone. Nothing happened. All right, so it can get that bad, but it could have been that development would have gotten built, but it didn't.
No.
The whole thing fell through, like Machinery Row fell through.
Like I started to
kicked all the
say, I
people
know
out.
you're not a Democrat, and yet you're basing this on hope. I mean, that was an Obama slogan, wasn't it? Hope.
Well, I would, yeah.
Have you come to the other side?
No, I'm not. I mean, I would not go into this deal.
Right.
I would not have done it.
Not the way it
But
is.
but if it's being done, you're watching this person move towards that cliff, and you just say, "Well, I hope he really doesn't go to the edge."
what you're saying is
Geez,
there's
I hope he doesn't fall.
nothing left but hope.
Yeah, because but that's all you can do now because
Yeah.
he's on
But
his own
nobody,
and
look,
he's doing it.
again, I'm going to put this online so people can read it, but nobody saw this. I mean, there's nothing. The whole community
Yeah.
had no opportunity to look and see.
Well, this
hey,
is very
what's
good that
happening.
it came out of the government. Now, but
Yeah.
we've seen other reports. We've had them right here on the
Right.
show. Of
Well,
other
this is a
reports that have
legit
come out.
report.
Not like this, though.
Not
I mean,
like- no.
and this is 2 weeks ago. This came out.
Right. No, and this had more specifics than the other reports we got. Most of the other reports we got were on the background of Foxconn and some of the deals didn't go through in Pennsylvania or whatever. But this is right down to the nitty gritty of what's going on in Mount Pleasant.
Yeah, this is it,
And
man.
it-
This is good stuff, folks. I mean, if you really want to get the insights here and something to base your opinions and judgments on,
Right.
go to the website and look through this. Scan through it. You don't have to read the whole thing word for word, but look through it. There's things in there that are going to go like, boom, and you're going to go, ooh, wow.
Yeah, and I think some of the
Worker
interesting stuff.
suicides?
Well, and some of the stuff was the I-94 corridor, the expansions and the amount of money they're spending on those roads, and I mean, Milwaukee definitely has some concerns about it. And I understand that, and
Well,
I would,
they're concerned because they're spending money on it too, and it's down here. I mean, one of Scott Walker's promises, I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but that Southeast Wisconsin was not going to get all this money from the state continuously like it had been doing for a long, long time.
Right.
He was going to, and now Foxconn comes in and boom, it's right back to the old
you
track.
think Scott Walker's got a shot at being reelected?
Not if I get to
I think he
vote.
does.
Not if I'm the only one voting.
You think he does? You think he's still?
Oh, absolutely.
You think so?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you got to admit it's an improvement over what was going on before. I'm not saying, I'm not saying he couldn't have done a lot better. He could have gotten.
You got to admit that?
I do. I think you do.
Yeah.
I
But
think-
you got to admit it. I don't got to
Well,
admit it.
just look at our ranking. Well, all right. If you want to look at the rankings in the state, economically, we've done much better. We've gone from 4th or 5th continuously in the top 5 tax-wise, down around 20th or 25th. It doesn't make it.
How about the quality of life? How's that gone?
I think it's improved. I think you
Have
got
you
more.
got any statistics to back that up? Because I think I've seen things that say we've actually
Okay, well,
lost ground.
that's fine. I look at things economically. I don't know exactly what aesthetically has been.
Well, give me a
damaged.
couple of bucks. I might start looking at it economically
Okay.
too.
All right. Well,
Well, I think there's enough. There's an awful lot of.
we'll get them to do something like that.
I think there's 15.
I'm cheap. You can buy me.
I think there's 15 candidates running for governor now. So I mean,
Boy, there's a lot of people coming
Yeah.
out saying that he's going to get
so
challenged.
it's going to be interesting, and I know that Foxconn was going to be like, woo, it's going to really look good, but I don't see him hanging around Racine County with Foxconn.
He doesn't seem to be riding the
something-
Foxconn coattails.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's there's questions, and maybe you can stay away from those questions. I could just
You
stay in
think,
the
you
background.
think he's smarter than we think he is?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. we'll see.
Yeah.
I have the good fortune of being a libertarian, so I don't have to vote for a Democrat or a Republican.
Well, I don't like it either. I don't like either
And
myself.
and we've been having a libertarian candidate for governor for a little while now. So you guys, they have to worry about who they're voting.
God.
I have an out.
You and the Socialist Workers' Parties have something in common.
Yeah, but that's all we got in
Yeah.
common. Nothing
Yeah.
philosophically, for sure.
Well, this whole party thing that's going on in this country it was never intended to be this
No,
way.
the way
you know.
it is.
No.
So
I mean, a two-party system, you're not going to find that in the Constitution anywhere.
No.
But I don't think we want to get involved in a constitutional discussion on a Monday morning, right?
Well, we'll hold off.
Yeah, we'll go sit
Start
at
it
the table.
earlier in the
Yeah,
conversation.
maybe have a couple of cold ones over there or something, and we'll straighten out the country. In the meantime, let's wish them all a good, happy morning and a beautiful day. And it's supposed to get up
Yes.
to like 70 today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yep.
enjoy it. We'll see
Yeah.
you soon. Thanks
Have a
for
good one.
being here.